Hello, and welcome to The Secrets of Storytelling with me, Katrice Horsley. This is episode 4, and there's going to be 12 episodes in all, showing different uses of story and storytelling. And in episode 4, we're still under the theme of teaching, but this time it is not early years. It is Key Stage 1, which is 5 to 7-year-olds, and Key Stage 2, 7 to 11-year-olds. And I know there is a big difference in those ages, but you are the teachers, you are the experts in your students, your pupils, and I'm sure you can adapt some of the ideas that I'm going to give to suit your pupils. If you want more information, I want to make this short, but if you want more information and ideas, please contact me and I am very happy to give help. So, when we're talking about storytelling and education, quite often people will instantly jump to cross-curricular development through storytelling, and I will talk about that later. But I really want to focus on the meta-narrative that is within your classroom, whether that is with younger children or Key Stage 2 children. The meta-narrative is the story of why. The story is the why. Which why, are you asking? Why should we learn? Why are we teaching? Why do we have to go to school? Why do I have to learn this stuff? That why. The students, the pupils, need to know the end of the story. They need to know the vision. They need to know the why. And so often when I'm working with teachers, they tell the students, because I said so, or because it will help you pass the exam, or because you will get a good grade. But why do I need to pass the exam? Why do I need a good grade? What is the story for me? So for me, it is vitally important that the students become the co-creators in the story of why, and that we as teachers enable them to vision where they're going to end up, who they're going to be, what character they are going to play in the story of their lives. So we have this idea of the meta-narrative within the classroom. And for me, that links into the hero's journey. And many of you might know of Joseph Campbell's work and this concept of the hero's journey. And I'll put a link below. Because what I am really passionate about doing with pupils and students is enabling them to create a strong learning identity. Not to say I'm good at maths and I'm bad at English. Not to say I'm good at this, I'm bad at that. But to say I am a learner and I can learn. And I'm really good at learning this. And this is more difficult for me to learn, but I'm still a learner. The creation of learning identities links perfectly in to this idea of the hero's journey. Let me explain. So in the hero's journey, the hero's off on a quest. A lot of people tell him he's foolish and he's stupid. The hero has to kind of be a fool to decide that they can conquer the dragons and they can sow the teeth in the soil and the skeletons will jump up and they can hack the skeletons to death, whatever it is. Loads of people say, it's impossible. You can't do it. The hero says, I'm not going to listen to any of you. I'm off on my journey. And what happens on that journey is the hero realizes they can't do it alone. They get rid of some of their ego and they turn towards helpers and they start to recognize they need certain gifts from these helpers and they have to become a little bit humble. And the hero also faces certain challenges. And it's only by asking for help, by recognizing that they can't do it alone, that they actually succeed on their quest, on their journey. So for me, I really love this idea of getting pupils and students to visualize where do they want to be at the end of the week, at the end of the term, at the end of the year, at the end of school. What kind of life do they want to inhabit? What kind of person do they want to be? And then through a narrative-based process that I have developed and used, we start to work together identifying helpers who they might need on that journey, identifying gifts that will help them, and also identifying some of the demons, the shadow beasts that might lurk in the corners and might sabotage them or challenge them. Some of you thinking this is a bit heavy for like a 6-year-old. Yeah, if we couch it in those terms. But if a 6-year-old has decided that they want more friends or they want to be more confident in class, that's what they want at the end of the term. And then you work with them to identify, well, you know, where can we look for helpers who can help with that? And they might identify 1 or 2 students who can give them the gift of friendship. And they might identify that in the playground, if they take their skipping rope because they're good at skipping, more people might join in with them. And if you start to identify, you know, what might stop you making friends, and they might say it's because I'm too shy and I don't want to speak. And then you start to think about, well, how can we get you to feel less shy and able to use your voice? So there are all these really simple steps that they can start to identify because they are the experts in their lived story. So it's about adapting that. And for me, no student is going to say, I'm going to learn today, if they think they're stupid, fat, ugly, and worthless, which might be a story they're hearing from home, which might be a story they have been carrying from a very early age. So it is essential, I think, to start to enable the children to think of themselves as learners and as the characters that they want to be in the story that they want to live in. So now that I've got those meta narratives a little bit to one side, I want to talk a little bit about cross-curricular development through storytelling. And this is what I have done a huge amount of work with, and it's great fun. So when we are learning, whether it's mathematics, whether it's history, geography, English, etc., a lot of teachers think that storytelling links into English or creative writing, and that's it. And that is absolutely not the case. What can happen is the story that you choose to use becomes the glue that helps the pupils link and relate different pieces of information and learning. I remember when my daughter was young, and we lived in Ghana, she'd been doing counting and she was about 3. And she was playing with the video cassettes and she was stacking them and she was counting them. And she turned around and she said, you can count these as well. And there was this moment of magic where she could transfer maths and counting into her everyday life of stacking and counting videos. Stories provide the bridges for that to happen between different subject areas, so that the pupils start to realize the magic of the overlaps, and how you can use mathematics in art, and how you can use art in mathematics, and how it's endless, absolutely endless. So I'm going to show you a couple of things, pictures of stuff that I've done. And again, if you want more information, reach out and contact me. So a great way, I think, of combining subject areas is, perhaps in history you might be studying something like the Egyptians, or it might be the Tudors, or it might be the Second World War, whatever it is, but you find a story about that. Now, I have a soft spot for the Egyptians, especially the story of Isis and Osiris, because it involves body parts being cast across the world. And so I would tell the story of Isis and Osiris. I would then get the students, the pupils, to create a map of the story of the island of Sinai in the center of the Nile, of the pyramids, of perhaps a marketplace. And they would just, draw that on a piece of A4 paper. And then we put grids across it, and we made that into a map. And we had 2-digit reference points, so like square A3 or C7. And we laminated those, and then we made body parts, and we stuck body parts on the laminate, and we played battleships. So they were in pairs, saying, is his liver in B12? And it'll be like a no or a yes. So this is a map that one of the pupils did of the story. And through that, we were looking at 2-digit reference points, geography, direction, northeast, south and west, etc. In English, with that story, we developed a newspaper, and we started to look at what things would be sold. So the vases that you would use to put the internal organs in. We looked at dating, that kind of young slave searching for love, blah, 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 how they would use the language and how they would describe themselves. And we looked at the headlines that might appear with regards to the different gods or the different pharaohs. And that was looking at a class collaborating to produce a newspaper, also looking at writing that would make people want to buy your stuff or want to read, so persuasive writing, and that was included in also. So just from the story of Isis and Osiris, there was a whole range of stuff that was done in the classroom. The other things that we made were comic strips. And this was to do with Greek myths. This was the story of Pandora. And I think these are brilliant, again, in sectioning off information. And then we had a whole collection of comics. But we also started to look at, in this story of Pandora's box, what kind of gifts you would want in your life, what you need in the classroom to keep the classroom safe, what special things do we need to keep in the box of the classroom to keep us safe and to make us feel that we have the courage to carry on and be vulnerable and become strong learners. So you can take that work into looking at behavior within the classroom, looking at supporting each other within the classroom as well. And this has to be one of my favorite projects. This was the story of Io, and she became a goddess, but she was turned into a cow. And the god Argos, was it, who had 100 eyes, was left to guard her so that she didn't escape. And Zeus really fancied her. Zeus always fancied everybody. And then Zeus's wife found out about it, and she wasn't very happy. But it ended up that Io escaped, and the Argos's head was cut off, and all of his eyes were taken by Zeus's wife and placed on the peacock's tail. So It's a strange story, but it's kind of wonderful. And this was with a year 6 group, and we dramatized the whole thing, but also we created backdrops of the different gods and the different elements of the story. We did a huge amount of maths around it with regards to positioning and place and um, the eyes and when you have to measure angles. I forgot trigonometry, a lot of work around trigonometry with it as well. It was just brilliant. This was the great giant, and his head came off. We made these huge costumes. There was so much problem solving involved in that. So that's just a couple of ideas. I could go on and on and on and on because I've been working, for over 30 years in that kind of an environment, looking at how we can build bridges between subject areas using story to make sense of it all. So I'm going to finish there. I'm going to put some links below regarding where you might want to go, or stories or story collections, certainly, that you might want to look at to develop different subject areas. The next episode is going to be about Key Stage 3. It is one of my favourite key stages because quite a lot of the time the students think that storytelling is for babies or isn't for them, and there's a resistance to it, and I like nothing more than a bit of resistance when I go into a setting and work with people. And in that episode I'm going to talk about speed dating and the periodic table. I'll tell you more next time. So I'll be with you next week. Please remember to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Again, I have forgotten which side it is. And please reach out to me if you want training for your staff, or if you are interested in coaching to develop your own skills with regards to storytelling, its uses and applications. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a lovely, lovely day. Bye-bye for now.